The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we're coming to you live from the Warner Center in Woodland Hills, California. This is the home for Autism Live. It's also the home for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. We're thrilled to be here with you on this Thursday morning. And oh my gosh, I'm so excited about the show today. I know I say that a lot, but today in particular, I just love what we got coming up for you on the show today. It's going to be a great day here at Autism Live. Thrilled, but I want to start out by saying we're in more places than we ever were before. You know, as of last week, we went live on Twitter and live on Periscope, and so we welcome all of the viewers that are joining us on those places for the first time. I want to particularly tell those people that and I want to tell everybody who's listening, the entire show is meant to be interactive. We love to hear from you on all the different formats that we're on. Samantha's going to show you some of those formats so that you can see all the different ways that you can connect with us. Because we know this is not a one-size-fits-all community, and how you guys take in content and media, it's all different, right? But while she's showing you all the different ways that you can participate, I want to remind you that we still have our homepage, autism-live.com. When you go there, there's a lot of things to do, a lot going on that page, but it looks like a desktop, right? And there's a computer screen. If you click on the little triangle that's on the computer screen, it starts playing the live show or the most recently recorded live show. And we archive the most recent 100 episodes. You can get to them by clicking on the little memo tab that's in the upper left-hand corner there. You click on that and it will show you those 100 episodes. If you want to go further back in time, please check out the library of videos that we have on YouTube. You go to youtube.com/autismlive. But many different ways to participate, right? But here's the great thing about the homepage. When you go there, to the side of the computer is something we call the live feature. If you will take your cursor and put it in the box that says your question, all you have to do is type and hit enter. You don't have to log in. You don't have to have a username. There's nothing where you have to prove that you're a human being and not a bot. There's nothing that asks for a credit card. It's totally free and it's totally anonymous. I know some of you love to participate on Facebook Live now or on Twitter, and that's fabulous. And we love it when you guys interact that way. But sometimes you want to ask a question and you don't really want to put your business on the streets, as a friend of mine says. So for those times when you want to be anonymous and still have a conversation with me and with our array of experts that we have here on the show, you can do that on our homepage, autism-live.com, okay? And we will not, in fact, we don't even know where you are in the world. So I love it when you tell me where you are, because sometimes the answers that we have for you are about resources, and not all the resources are available in the same places. So if you say, hey, I live about 60 miles outside of Jakarta, that's going to be a different answer than if you say I live 3 miles outside of Rochester, New York, right? Because the resources are different. Let's all work towards a day when that isn't the case, but for now, we deal with what we have, right? So write to us, give us as much information, tell us what you want to know more about, who you want to have on the show, ask questions of our guests. We appreciate it all. We really like the interaction. I do like to remind you at the start of the show that we have many experts and fabulous guests that are here on the show. Please don't confuse me for being one of the experts. That's not my gig. I am a former teacher and I'm a very proud autism mama. My son was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5. That was almost 12 years ago. So I've been on this path for that amount of time. I've learned many things, I think, but I am still a student learning at the master's feet, all of the master's feet, right? Learning more about my kid, more about me, more about the world in which we're delivering our kids to as adults, and what that's like when we're dealing with the autism community. So I especially welcome you to the show, whether you are a parent, a teacher, a practitioner, or for heaven's sake, if you are somebody who's on the autism spectrum, of course, we welcome you to the show and welcome you to the conversation in any way in which you can participate. We want to hear from you. It's all very important to all of us. All right, having said all of that, on Thursday morning, we like to start off with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym, and we try to figure out what in the heck are they talking about and why are they talking about it? Why do we have to have our brains filled with these new jargon terms? I will tell you, 2 years after my son was for the first 2 years after my son was diagnosed, I didn't want to know. I was like, just speak English in a way that I can understand it. I don't have a degree in psychology. Don't make me have to go get one. Then 2 years in, I started going, I'm wasting time. I want to get more done, and I want to be the best possible team member for my son that I can be. And if I learn these terms a little bit at a time, it saves time and money, honestly, and you get more done. So we try to do that here. We give you first the actual definition to one word, phrase, or acronym. Then we give you, and we like to make fun of the actual definition because usually it's something that can be poked fun of. Then we try to give you a somewhat watered down version, but something that's more accessible. So we figure out, how does this apply to me today? Why is this important? Why should I be interested in knowing what this term means? And usually that's worthwhile. So today's term, and it's one that we have done before, but not for a while, socio-dramatic play. Okay. If you watch the show that we're big proponents of play and how important play is, but then you as any good psychologist would, you segment play into different categories. To a parent, you just go, really? Why can't we just play? Well, because different kinds of play feed off of different things and help with different lessons. So when we talk about socio-dramatic play, what are we talking about? Let's go to our actual definition. Socio-dramatic play. Play which involves the acting out of scripts, scenes inspired by real life, books, cartoons, and other media. Individuals assume roles using themselves and/or characters like dolls, figures, and puppets as they interact together on common themes. Okay, that's not the worst definition under the sun, right? But let's take it down a notch and look at what our working definition is. Sociodramatic play is make-believe or pretend play. Now, this is all going to make sense in a few minutes when I talk about some of the things that we're going to be talking about on the show and some of our guests today. But when you think about it, I'm somebody, my master's degree is in theater and acting. I'm always going to be talking to you guys about how important it is to allow our kids to take on other roles and to be in that acting class and be in the improv class because we know it's so good for them. Studies have now shown this conclusively. Temple Grandin has said that it helped her so much. And there are specific reasons why. But even before your child is the point where you want to stick them in an acting class or in an improv class, even before that, there's a level of play that we want our kids to engage in. We've talked about functional pretend play, which is when they've got the vacuum cleaner that's the toy vacuum cleaner, right? We've talked about imaginative play, where they make things up. We have talked about symbolic play, where they take something like a pen and they make it a sword, right? It's not a sword, but they make it a sword, which all leads to creativity. We've talked about building and construction play, which is, the Legos and the crafts and things like that, which help with all kinds of cognition. But when we get to socio-dramatic play, this is the aisle in the toy store where they have the little costumes where you can dress up as the fireman, right? And at a certain point, the functional pretend play kind of moves into the socio-dramatic play for things like the bigger doll houses or the little trucks that kids drive, and they take on a character, not just driving the truck themselves, but they take on a character because, little kids don't really drive trucks. But when you see a group of kids and they're playing in the dollhouse, the big dollhouse, and somebody says, okay, I'm going to be the mom, you be the baby, and you be the dog, and, you be the policeman, and usually there's the one bossy gut girl who's assigning the roles. And I love it when you watch kids play, because then at a certain point, nothing's really happening. And so then they'll reassign the roles, right? It's so great for our kids that are on the autism spectrum to be involved in that kind of play. Because if you think about it, first of all, when the neurotypical kid changes up the rules and says, no, we're reassigning the roles, we're teaching flexibility, right? But beyond that, this is a great way to take our small kids and have the beginnings of perspective taking in a really safe way. You want for them later on to think about, oh, if I do this, I feel this way, but how does that person take it? How do they feel about it, right? Well, that's kind of a big mental leap for anybody to take. But if we've started really young with, okay, I'm going to put on the fireman jacket, and what does a fireman do? And how does a fireman feel? And what are some things that a fireman says? Well, that's perspective taking. And so not only are, we're working on that, but think about all the social things that you're working on if you're doing socio-dramatic play. That, if somebody says, well, I'm going to be the mom and you be the baby, this is a big social game that we're playing. And kids tend to enjoy it. And it kind of, like you have moments and they'll get into the character and then they slide out of it and then they do something else. Don't try to, handle it too much. Let them play in the way that they play, because it has a fluidity to it that's very flexible. Later on, as they get older, then you're going to put them in the acting classes, and it's all going to start to cohese and make great sense. But sociodramatic play, it's a really important part of how our kids need to grow and develop, that we need to pay particular attention to. So don't ignore that aisle. Even if you don't celebrate Halloween, get some costumes, go to garage sales, get some costumes that might be fun for your kids and other kids to play. We used to have play dates where we'd invite, and there would be 22 costumes, and everybody could put on the costume and do whatever. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. This is a great way for our kids to play in a very safe way and grow and all those things. I get so excited about sociodramatic play. Make believe, really, really helpful. Okay, moving on. We always have a question of the day. And our question today is, have you ever been in a play? I find sometimes that when I'm trying to talk to parents about how important it is that their kids get an opportunity to do that, if I'm talking to a parent who's been in a play, and I will say, what did you, not everybody grows up to be an actor who's been in a play, but what did you learn from being in a play? And it's so fascinating because people get this look over their face and they go, oh, I did a play in 5th grade, and you know what I remember? I remember something went wrong during the performance, but we all stuck together like a team and we got through it, and it was really fun, and we laughed really hard afterwards. And I really learned that sometimes things don't go the way they're supposed to, but in the end, it's all okay. What a great life lesson, right? How amazing would it be to give that lesson to our kids? I really want to encourage us all to be fighting for arts programs, to be a part of every kid's program, right? Every kid, neurotypical and otherwise, but especially for our kiddos who are on the autism spectrum. What a great thing for them to be able to be in a play. And if they don't have it at your kid's school, let me just tell you, you can make it happen. My son's school, I hadn't really gotten involved in the PTA, and I went to a PTA meeting and said, I want to be involved, but don't put me in charge of the bake sale. Like, this is just not my strength. And I said, I used to be a college professor teaching theater. Is there you're in charge of the Women in History play. And it was great for me. It was great for me, and it was great for my kid. He wasn't in it for a lot of years because it was only with the 4th graders, but it gave me a reason to be on campus, so I got to see things. It gave me a great thing to do, to work with kids who then all became friends with my son. Went well into junior high that there were kids looking out for him always because they knew me and they knew him. But also, I got to hear from so many kids of all abilities. There were kids with autism in those classrooms as well as other kids as well. And I got to see them grow and flourish. Being able to be in a play, I think, is a crucial, essential part of anyone's growing up. And the lessons you learn from it will stick with you forever. So we want to know, have you ever been in a play? And write to us and tell us. I'll bet you've got a good memory of it if you've been. And if you've never been in a play, it's never too late. There are community theaters everywhere. Be in a play. So we always have a topic of the week, and our topic this week, it's all about one thing: acting schmacting. Because people always poo-poo the acting thing and say, oh, how can this... I remember when I was teaching college, and it was parent weekend, and one parent showed up and said, I've told my son if he wants to minor in theater, he can minor in theater, but I don't want him to major in theater. It just seems like such a waste of time. I want him to major in business. And I said, okay, well then, if you're paying for his tuition, then you and he can have that conversation. And she said, well, he wants me to talk to you. And this was a neurotypical kid, right? But honestly, my advice would have been the same to anybody. I said to her, well, the truth of the matter is that when he goes to apply for the business job that you want him to have, when he's doing the interview, the skills that he needs, he's not going to get in the business class. He's going to get those in the acting class. And by the way, if he is going there with a bunch of business majors and he walks in and says, I have the degree in business, but I have a minor in theater, that's going to put him a leg up. But the truth of the matter is that if he walks in and he's got the degree in theater and the minor in business, I'll bet he's going to get the job. And I think that young man found that to be true. And I have found that to be true throughout my life. My college roommate was studying how to be a reading specialist to work with kiddos who had learning disabilities and to be a teacher. And I was studying theater. And when we graduated and both went to look for a job, the first job that I got offered was working with kids who had learning difficulties, and she couldn't get a job for 2 years. I'm just saying. They're skills that are going to give anyone a leg up. So when you say acting, I don't know, I'm always going to say to you, life skills. Don't tell me acting schmacting. It's a good thing. So we're going to be talking about that. In fact, our very first guest, do you see how this all coalesces? If you haven't been watching Atypical, I just don't know what to do with you, because you should be. It's on Netflix, and it's amazing. And we've talked about how great the show is, and we've talked about some of the controversy that is attached to it, because people felt that the lead character would have been better if it had been played by somebody who's on the autism spectrum. I can't address that, but what I can address today is that we have a wonderful young man who is here with us, who's one of the recurring characters, and he happens to identify himself as being on the autism spectrum. Anthony Walkis is here with us this morning, and he's going to be talking with us about how he came to be on Atypical. He's amazing. You're going to love him. A little bit later on, we have special education attorney Bonnie Yates, who's going to be with us answering your questions. And then later on in the show, although we might pull him in earlier if he gets here earlier, from the Autism Society of America, Matt Asner is going to be here to be talking about the really amazing poker tournament that's coming up on September 9th that bears the name of his dad, Ed Asner, one of the most decorated actors in American television history. He's been nominated for and won more Emmy awards than any other actor, which is a pretty amazing thing, and he's held that title for a really long time. And he is a very proud grandpa and a dad to individuals who are on the autism spectrum. So we're going to be talking about this poker tournament and some of the amazing star-studded folks that are coming to that poker tournament and what the money goes towards. So I think that all of that's going to be wonderful. And we love it when Matt's here. He's just an amazing human being, a dad and a brother of individuals who are on the autism spectrum. So he brings a great perspective. So I also want to say too, before we go to break, that we did the drawing a little bit earlier for the scallop from Convade, this wonderful seat, and we have sent an email to the person who won, but they have not responded back, so we're not saying what their name is until we get permission, but check your email to see if you won. And then for a few lucky people, we have some growth charts to give away. We want to thank Convade and R82 for making this possible. If you want to know more about the scallop, please go to also for the number 844-me.com, or you can call 844-876-6245. And hopefully we'll hear back from that individual so that we can announce who the winner is. We're going to take a break now, and when we come back, Anthony Wackes from Atypical is here live with us in the studio. Send questions for him if you have them. Stick with us.
I am Alexis Weinman at the Future Horizons Super Conference in Dallas, Texas. It helped me in a way because it was a format that I was not used to. Like, I had never curled my hair before. I've never worn heels. I didn't know what foundation was. And it was just, it was a very, like, it helped me more in a business sense. Like, I know how to present myself in front of people now. That's something my mom drilled into my head. I have trouble sometimes with it. Like, you introduced yourself to me downstairs, and so I immediately and I've heard of you before, so I was like, I know this person, I can make eye contact with this person. And if I'm talking to someone I don't know, or if I'm listening to someone give a speech, most of the time my head will be down. I don't look at people in the eye, but if it's someone I know I need to make eye contact with, I make eye contact. But my mom growing up, she, especially after the diagnosis, she would always grab my hand if I was looking everywhere else but her, and she'd say, look me in the eye. And so she wouldn't let go of my hand until I looked her in the eye. I do feel like I have to do play part because, sometimes there'll be jokes I don't understand, but I'll laugh at anyway. There will be situations that I'm not comfortable with, but I'm going to have to play along anyway. And I think I just found out, I'm just a tremendously amazing liar. I can pretend like I'm uncomfortable with something when in actuality I am screaming inside, or I know the moment I get back to my dorm room I'm going to start screaming or having a meltdown or something like that. But I also know that there is a time and a place because there isn't any safe rooms available in neurotypical society. We have to make our own. And on a college campus, there's not many places you can go and scream without attracting attention. The way I explain it to people is, people's brains are like hamster wheels. Eventually, the hamster's got to take a break. Autistic brains aren't like that. They just keep going and going and going. So we can't stop thinking about things. That's why a lot of kids with autism have sleep problems, because they can't fall asleep because they have too much on their brain. They can't sleep because they're thinking too much. And I think just the walking in circles, there's no thought to a circle. It's just, so I'll just plug in my earphones so I can't hear anything else except whatever white noise I'm listening to, and I'll just walk in a circle. I think it's just we are just as prevalent as men with autism. There might not be as many as there are boys, but we are still part of this movement. We're still part of this community, and we just got to remind people that, hey, we're here too. Don't forget about us. One thing I've learned is that, first off, I'm not the only person who is speaking from their own perspective. I feel like I go to some of these conferences and it's a bunch of doctors and a bunch of parents who want to talk and get to know what autism is about, but there's not a lot of people on the spectrum talking about it. And so I come to these and I see Temple Grandin, who's one of the biggest faces in the autism community, actually get up and talk about what helped her and what we need to do in order to get our kids out of society and not in our parents' basements. And so it's just kind of reaffirming, I'm not the only one. Thank you. Because I'd go to these and I would be the only one. I'd be next to a bunch of doctors and talking about words I have not even seen before, let alone pronounce. And I'm just sitting here I did a pageant once. So it's good to know I'm speaking from a perspective of not necessarily overcoming, but learning to live with this, because I feel like not a lot of people come out and say what it's like to live on the autism spectrum. A lot of people talk about the struggles and everything like that, but they don't talk about what they've done to make their lives better while living on the spectrum.
Logan Shepherd. At first glance, he looks like a typical American teenager. He plays in a band, loves hanging out with his friends, he doesn't like doing homework, and he's not really fond of broccoli. But Logan Shepherd is not your typical 14-year-old. Logan was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. He was nonverbal, made no eye contact, and his parents were told to abandon all hope. Instead, his parents began an intensive intervention treatment. At its center was a quality ABA program known as the CARD method. This is Logan Shepherd now.
All I really want to say is, like, I'm kind of copying Martin Luther King. I kind of have a dream, like, that one day, like, I can just, like, inspire people to never give up. Because, like, that's what I want to do in life. Because if I can succeed, they can succeed. And I will succeed.
To follow Logan's musical journey, visit www.facebook.com/officialdrummerrock or @drummerrock on Instagram. For more information on the CARD method, visit www.centerforautism.com or call 800-345-CARD. Rock on, Logan.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm really excited right now because here in the studio we have with us Anthony Hawkes. Did I get your name right finally?
You did.
It only took me 17 tries. But Anthony is a very talented actor. He is a recurring character, playing a recurring character on Atypical, and which I am a big fan of. And I'm now newly a big fan of yours. For people who are watching the show, if you haven't watched it yet, Anthony is, featured in episodes 6 and 8, and hilarious. Your character is absolutely, I think, one of the highlights of the show. And you come in at you are in the funniest moments in the show. Right. Which is a wonderful thing. But you are also getting a lot of press right now because you identify yourself as being somebody who's on the autism spectrum, correct?
Yes. That's right.
Okay. So, but that is so secondary to everything. What I really want to talk about is you being an actor. And first of all, welcome to the show. But how old were you when you knew that you wanted to be an actor? Is this a relatively new thing?
No, it hasn't, unfortunately. No, like, I started, when I started thinking that I want to be an actor, that was during my high school years.
Okay.
I guess somewhere in my junior, where I started taking theater classes and all that. I took theater classes my junior and senior year of high school.
And were these at school? They were just part of like an elective you could take at school?
Yeah, elective. And I also did stage crew like as a freshman. So I mean, it was fine, all that, you know. I still felt like I was part of the show because I did work. I helped build sets, create sets, and all that, and for actors to perform on. So yeah.
But by the time you were a junior and a senior, were you getting roles in the shows?
No, because I haven't really tried auditioned and all that. I was just like, I just took those as electives.
Okay, so you're in a class, but then the class at some point they do a show. So mostly you were taking the class but working on the sets and doing. Is that a fair assessment of it? But did you love it?
Yeah, it was still worth it.
Okay. And did you find that you made friends while you were taking the classes and working on the productions?
Yeah.
At what point, Anthony, did you realize I want to audition?
I'm gonna say when I started, maybe ever since I graduated from high school.
Okay. And so you decided you wanted to be an actor. Did you decide you wanted to be a professional actor? Did you think that you wanted to do TV and film at that point, or did you want to do like local community theater?
Yeah, like all the stuff that you said, like, the first time, try being a professional on TV and film. Maybe it won't happen. I know it won't happen like, really quick, but I maybe not that professional. Just I just want just do my best at least.
And so did you, when you decided that you wanted to do acting, what was it about acting that you wanted to do? What do you like about it?
Oh, I like how it de-stresses me.
Ah, it de-stresses you.
Yeah.
For some people, it stresses them.
Yeah, and not only that, it's I just noticed that it's one of my greater hobbies. One of my top few great hobbies out of the other ones, and because sometimes I would just act like something and all that just to just for to get a joke.
Were you doing
something.
characters and voices and things like that for a joke? A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, interesting. So you've decided at some point that you want to be able to audition. You're already graduated from high school and you decide that you want to audition. Were there obstacles to you being able to audition? Like how many, you don't live in LA proper, you live LA
Right.
adjacent. How hard was it? Were there obstacles to you being able to be an actor?
Obstacles, yes, there were. Maybe let me. I'm gonna talk about there were obstacles when I first auditioned for Atypical. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. I
Yeah.
did. First off, I heard about the audition and all that, and
Tell us about that. How did you hear about it?
I went to the Sony studio where they're casting directors. They they look at everyone. How their auditions and all that. There are a lot of people auditioning for Sam because and I was one of them and all that. And I had the script with me and all that just to memorize a few
Right.
sentences. And I went in and I did my best. And yeah, I was trying to be someone else and all that, trying
Yes.
to maybe try to turn myself maybe what Sam's character is really like.
Yeah.
And
Because Sam is not like you.
yeah, no,
No, he's very different than you are.
he's different.
But so you were trying to become the character of Sam. So, but I want to go back just a second though, Anthony. How, who told you that they were going to do an audition at Sony? How did you find out? Did your mom find out, or did you read about
I
it?
found out because I worked with a job coach named Jocelyn Howard.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she found out.
She's she's pretty much like a career coordinator and all that. She works for Autism Society.
Okay. And so she said they're going to be doing these auditions at Sony.
Yes.
You should go.
Yeah.
I bet you've thanked her a couple of times for that info. Yeah. Okay, so you're there and you're waiting to be seen and you're trying to become the character of Sam. What did you think was going to happen? Did you think that you were going to get the role of Sam? Did you think you were going to become a regular? Did any of that, or were you just going to try it out and see what happened? Just go with the flow.
Yeah. I had I had mixed feelings of that thought because a lot of people have been telling me, it's almost impossible to get a part in a show and all that.
Yes.
I honestly didn't know if I was gonna get the part or not. But I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
Wait, how am I just put this? So after I auditioned in front of them, pretending to be Sam, they seems though they liked it and all that. They liked me, and they told me and when we were done, they told me that they'd contact me the next day, see if I got it or not. And then the next day came, and I got a call for them. Well, Jocelyn got a call from them and all that, and then she came to me and she told me that they said that Sam's character didn't really fit me. However, they did appreciate they liked my acting so much, and they thought it was I don't know, just unique. And they said that they really wanted to try and find a way to get me part of the show.
Really, so the very next day they called you and said that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But I kind of waited for days and all that, and then days later, they give me a script and all that. It's for this character. They created a character just for me and all that named Christopher.
Yeah.
And then I went over to somewhere out in Beverly Hills and so I could audition in front of casting directors. Like I auditioned again, and I went in, and I read, I did my part, and at the end I don't know that lady's name, but she told me that I killed it. So yeah.
And how did you feel about that? Did it feel really great and when you found out you were going to be on the show, was that a celebration thing? Were you pretty excited?
They didn't tell me I was to be on the show as soon as I was done. Like I left and I spent the night at my grandmother's house, and it was like later on at night and all that. I get a call from Jocelyn, and she told me that they told her that I got the part is mine and all that, and all I had to do was like, accept it, and I did.
And did you know at that time because you were in some pretty racy parts of the show, I gotta say.
Yeah.
Right? The conversation that you're having with the lead character, Sam, is almost always centered around sex and things having to do with sex.
Yeah.
Did you know that when you accepted the role?
I knew a little bit of it. Like when I got the script for Sam's character, I noticed, like, a little bit of topics that were about sex.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so when you saw it though, were you okay with the fact that this is what the topic of conversation was going to be?
I was still fine.
Yeah. And how, now that you've done the show, well, first of all, let's talk about what was it like on the set when you were filming? How exciting was that to be brought in? Did they give you your own dressing room? Were you?
Yeah. I had my own dressing room and all that, like my own trailer.
Right.
Like for all,
with your name on it?
Yeah, all actors had their own trailer.
Right.
But only like it would have our character's name on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And did you take a picture of it so that you have it forever?
I did not.
Did somebody take a picture?
No,
we
not
need to
that I know
assign
of.
someone to take a picture of these kinds of things so you can have it forever and ever. That's a pretty exciting thing, your first trailer. I mean, was this your first professional audition?
Yes.
Do you realize how amazing that makes you, that your first professional audition, you booked and got your own trailer? That's pretty amazing.
I mean, I didn't know, it kind of happened a little fast and all that, because I've been hearing from a lot of people that, it takes, there are you get a lot of people in this world want to be actors, but you have to deal with a lot of rejection.
Yes.
And not only that, sometimes I hear some people tell me that it's one of the most stressful jobs ever because, you're like, I hear that you got to get up really early in the morning, or you have to stay late at night, and you don't really have a lot of time to just do your own thing and all that. You're working a lot.
And all those things can be true, but what did you find to be true when you were on the show?
What did I find?
Did you have to be there really early in the morning?
No, not too early.
Did you have to stay really late?
Only one. My last time my last night I went over there to film and all that. Yeah, I stayed up there until I was there till 2:20.
Okay.
a.m.
Okay, so there was one late night, but was it fun to be there till 2:20?
Yes.
Were you having a good time?
Yes.
I think that's the part that the people say, well, it could be early mornings and it could be late nights. They leave out the fact that it could be the most fun you ever have, too.
I mean, I'm okay with just staying up like really, really late and all that. As long as it's not all the time, like on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I mean, I just like to do it once in a while.
And I imagine the next day you slept late. You slept a little bit longer.
No, I mean,
you still got
I took when I got back to my place, I took the short, rest and all that. But I don't like, and I just don't like to. I'm a morning person.
Oh, good
I
for
just
you.
like to keep myself up and be active a little bit.
You're amazing. So now the show has come out and people are talking about you and about how amazing you are, and you are. I was so excited. I mean, I saw you, and we've got some pictures that we're going to show here. There's the whole cast. An amazing group of people.
Yep.
Wonderful. Look at you on your red carpet, looking all good.
Yeah.
Well, but that was fun. And I was there that night when you guys did the talk back.
Yeah, you were there.
And a very exciting evening. How is it now that people are seeing it and they're telling you how great you are? Does that feel good?
Yeah, it feels good, but however, I'm just I'm trying to like, you know, I have to be alert, like, you know, with that, because I don't want to get I just want, what I want to do is like try and not get carried away by all fame and all that, you know, because it's happened to some people, and it turns them like into like really I don't know, not so good people. I don't want to be like those people. I really don't.
I think that that's really good that you're already aware of that. Have you had people, I mean, there was somebody here this morning who was like, oh, I want to meet him. And so I brought, because he was a fan of the show, and I brought him over to, and does that feel weird when people want to meet you now, or is that a good thing?
No, it's a good thing.
Okay.
I mean, it was unexpected, but it was still a good thing, because it's like, you know, it's never happened before. But if I keep up, like, you know, I keep on doing shows, like, and I get on, like, you know, other TV shows or movies and all that. Yeah, it'll start happening more and more often,
It is gonna happen.
and eventually I'll become used to it.
And so has anybody recognized you like in the grocery store or anything yet?
No.
Okay,
Not-
it's going to
not at
happen
this
at
time.
some point. It'll be a
But
very
people
interesting.
the friends that I have, like that, who I'm connected to on Facebook, they have, and they send me messages and all that.
And I'm sure everybody's really excited for you. This
Yeah.
is a pretty exciting thing. So let's talk a little bit about now going to the future and what your plans are for the future. Are you now set on you're going to be a professional actor, and you want to go further into this? Do you have an agent? Do you want to keep working that way?
We're working on finding an agent for myself. So
Yeah. But so you want to do more of this?
yeah, I like to do, like, like how I got this part and all that's not that I'm a really good actor. It's just because, you know, it was luck. All that, you know.
I think it was luck, but also luck, and you showed up and you did a great job.
Well, yeah, also
and you're
that.
very talented.
I also I volunteered, like, you know, myself to, like, you know, auditioning. So yeah.
Yes. Because a lot of people, you know, there are people who have talent who don't get to the audition. That
Right.
happens. And there are a lot of people who get to the audition who don't have talent. So for somebody who's like you, and you're talented, I'm sure people have already explained that to you, that you probably feel like you are. I'm telling you, you're talented. So getting to the audition, the more auditions you go to, the more things you're going to book. You're going to do good work.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to act, you look great on camera. Having met you twice now, and you're vastly different than the character that you play, you're a very talented actor.
Thanks.
It's a great thing. So what kinds of roles do you want to play?
Ooh, yeah, like I thought about that one lots of times. Roles.
Yeah.
And you mean as in genres?
Yeah, like right now you're young, so
Yeah.
you're only going to play young people. I'm sure people are going to ask you, do you feel like you're only going to play people who are on the autism spectrum, or do you think you're going to play people who aren't on the autism spectrum?
Well, if I keep this up and all that, you know, I feel, and like I get discovered by, you know, if I get discovered by like other casting directors, then, well, I have this feeling, I could play like characters who are autistic, but also people who are not.
I agree, and I'm so glad that you're sending that message forward. We're out of time, unfortunately, but what do you want people who are casting directors to know about hiring somebody who's on the autism spectrum?
Hiring someone on the autistic spectrum.
Like, you showed up and you did this amazing job. Should they at all feel like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen if I hire this person? Or should they trust the fact that you handled the job beautifully?
No, I feel as though if they're going to hire me, then they need to they need to not fully trust me, just trust me,
Yeah.
at least.
And let you do the work that you know how to do.
Yeah.
And as evidenced by the work that you did on Atypical. We're still waiting to hear if they've gotten a second season, but I hope they do. And I hope that your character gets to appear a lot more.
Hope so too.
We really hope that. We want to thank you so much for being here, for making the trek to be with us today. You've done an amazing job. We want to tell people to watch Atypical on Netflix. It's there now. There's 8 episodes, and Anthony is featured in episodes 6 and 8. So don't miss those particular episodes. And it's a beautiful show. It's just a wonderful show, and you're a beautiful part of it. You're hilarious.
Right.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here. We have to
Thanks.
take a break, and then we're going to be back very quickly with Bonnie Yates. We're running just a little bit late. We apologize for that, but this was too good. We couldn't go any faster than that. So stick with us.
It's always fun, because whenever someone asks, I run away in fear. We're Asperger's or Us. It's true, we're the first comedy troupe composed of people on the autism spectrum.
So if we're not funny, blame it on Ethan's disability. You should come to what might be our last ever show.
We'll be able to do material that we've worked on but haven't performed yet, and also it'll be really, really silly. We want to sell out Earth.
This is definitely the most challenging show we've had.
We want aliens to come to the show and be turned away because it's full. There's parts that are screwed up, there's parts the audience doesn't get, but we're realistic, so if the aliens get in, that's okay too.
It's gonna be a disaster. It's going to be...
Start thinking this way.
I was born this way.
I've been more stressed than I have been in the past.
We're hypersensitive because something's irritating us from the inside.
I'm saying that I feel upset.
All of this stuff that's hard, that's difficult for us, this is what we get for starting Asperger's R Us.
I asked. I'm not talking about you.
I want you guys to leave. I just want it to be done now.
It's a lonely, lonely world. This is my diagnosis, the actual time I got diagnosed on the autism spectrum, and I skipped home because I felt freer than I ever had. It explained everything that had ever happened to me that didn't make sense.
When you have Asperger's, you can do things that are really, really great. Not in spite of having autism, but through it.
Doing really good, dude. I'm really happy that we're in this troupe together.
Me too.
And the rabbi interrupts and says, sorry to cut you off.
These guys are my best friends. I don't really have anything bad to say.
This gazebo has the stupidest sign. Because what the hell else are you gonna do in a gazebo? I'm a rebel without a cause, baby.
Are those your eyes? Is that your smile? I've been looking at you forever, yet I never saw you before. Are these your hands?
As a celebrity, whatever that means, you want to do what you can to get back. The way I've always looked at it, if I'm available, I'm going to be there. And when you get there and you see what folks are doing and the lives that they're touching, how can you not want to continue to be a part of it?
And for the first time, I am looking in your eyes.
What can we all do to make a difference? Not only with trying to find a cure, but to help the children and the families that may not have the resources for these kids.
When you're looking back at me, now I understand what...
None of us are doing enough, but I think that we're doing as much as we possibly can. Because we all live in a society, and the more we can all do to help society, the more it helps all of us.
And for the first time, I am looking in your eyes. And for the first time, I'm seeing who you are. I can't believe how much I see when you're looking back at me. Now I understand. for the first time.
Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and we're at the ABCs and XYZs of Special Needs Conference. And this year, for the first time, they've got something really remarkable. It's the Entrepreneurial Boutique. These are all items that have been made and are being sold by individuals who have special needs. So we're going to do a little shopping and talk to some of these fabulous entrepreneurs. Come on.
My name is Molly Rarick, and I'm founder of Breed's Gift. We're a nonprofit that serves teens and adults with special needs, like Chase here. We were founded in 2013 and serve people in the Conejo Valley, Santa Barbara, and LA.
Our main objective is to give our participants the skills they need to gain a more independent life.
My name is Shelley Cox, and Lisa Zalagi and I are founders of Creative Steps and Create Microbusiness Enterprises. And the items that we're selling here today are all made by the clients who have passions about what they want to make, and then they get the profits from what they make after we've paid all of the other expenses.
We are here today because my goal is to be independent, and also I would like to share all my artwork, and I would like to sell.
Thinking about at his young age being a businessman, it's amazing. I cannot be more proud.
Welcome back to Autism Live. There's so much hubbub and fabulous happening here. As you can see during the break, I've been joined by the fabulous Matt Asner, coming to us from the Autism Society of America. He is here a little bit later on to talk with us about a really cool event that they have coming up,
very cool event.
The Ed Asner Poker Tournament that's benefiting Autism Society of America. So we're going to talk about that in a little while, but as you guys know, this is the time of day on Thursdays that we're joined by special education attorney Bonnie Yates. So Bonnie is joining both Matt and I right now via Skype. Bonnie is coming to us from Hirji and Chow. Bonnie, welcome.
Thank you, Shannon and Matt.
Hi, Bonnie.
Hey, Shannon, it was so great to visit the card offices on Monday and, see that behind the product, which is, Kick A ** intervention, are some really great, smart human beings that are working pretty tirelessly to move the discipline forward. So, we talk about this stuff all the time, but sometimes it's nice to get back to the kind of just bricks and mortar of what makes, a program work for kids. So that was really neat.
Thank you so much for coming and having lunch with me on Monday. And Bonnie, we have a couple of quick programming notes here, really quick. Yesterday on the show during Ask Dr. Doreen, we had two questions that came in very specific, kind of one of them very urgent that we talked about on the show. We talked about the behavioral aspects of them, but there was a legal aspect. We said that we would address it here, but having conversed with you about it, it's going to take a little bit of time. So I want to say to our West Virginia mom who wrote in specifically and then wrote to me again last night that as soon as the show is over, I'm going to connect you with Bonnie's phone number so that you and she can talk today, because it's at that level and Bonnie really feels that it warrants a private conversation. But we will address the bigger issues for everybody else to hear about, the bullying and some of the broader things that Bonnie talks with you about on next week's show. So I just wanted to let people know that it's not going away and that mom's going to get some immediate help today. And Bonnie, I want to thank you so much for that. Having said that, I want you to take a minute to tell people about how they can connect with Hirji and Chow in general, and then give the disclaimer, and let's jump in and get some questions answered.
Right. We're going to really cruise. So you're being given general advice per California and federal law. I'm only licensed to practice in this state. If you have a problem in another state, you need to find a special education attorney in your state who can help you with the specifics of that. We've talked before about COPA, www.copaa.net, as a source, I think, for competent education attorneys. So that would be a way to go in another state. And then as far as contacting Hergie and Chow, probably the best way is just old telephone call, 310-391-0330. It's really interesting because it was so quiet for about a month, and this week the phone started ringing again. Lots of people calling in, different beginning of year problems like assessments that are in process, IEPs that need to be done urgently, school's in session, I guess. So I'm sad to say that, because that means I lose my 20-year-old to college pretty soon, but school is definitely in session.
It sure is, and there's a lot of people stressed. So Bonnie, you've got some things that you're going to jump right into. I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay, so we had a couple things we were talking about. One was accommodations, and accommodations fit into the larger framework of offering somebody a free, appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment. So I looked at the kind of pre-printed IEP form, which you all probably have an accommodations page. You might not know it, but it's there, so get to know it. It's got a lot of different boxes that can be checked. But then, as I learned, if you need accommodations for a specific job or a specific disability, the internet can actually be a very good source of those things. So I just did a little, tooling around on Google for interventions for children with autism. Accommodations. And what was interesting about it to me was that they went at it from a very different perspective, more, specific to the disability than our, generic kind of public school IEP accommodations page. So we're just going to whip through these, and then if people have questions, we'll answer them later. But the reason we're going to do that is because we need to talk about least restrictive environment at the beginning of the school year here. So the accommodations would include, for people with ASD, would include social stories, which obviously helps break abstract concepts down into manageable increments for kids. Picture schedules, since our kids are so visual in terms of how they learn. Choice boards, that's another way of kind of delineating something and, and making it manageable. Visual communication system, which is really assistive technology, and we should probably do a whole other discussion sometime about that. Behavior charts, which could be part of a behavior support plan. Computer for handwriting, if the child has difficulty with handwriting. Obviously, extra time on tests and extra time for homework assignments. Organizational support, which basically is a fancy way of saying a case carrier. Class notes, homework modifications, preferential seating, timers, meaning it may help a child to have a timer to frame the amount of time they're going to spend on a task, sort of an executive functioning management issue. A communication book, which are great in theory if they ever make it home. And then, of course, because, we're very trendy here, fidgets. So you might need your little fidget toy that seems to have gone viral. So anyway, those are some accommodations. But the question that we had for this week was about least restrictive environment. Good morning, Shannon. I have a child with high-functioning autism in first grade. What are the reasons to decide a child doesn't belong in general education? My son is not distractible or a danger to others or himself. I ask that his IEP be a general ed placement with ABA support, but they said he won't be able to benefit from gen ed. My son is not able to write yet. He's verbal but still severely speech delayed for his age. His academics are at a preschool level. Is this enough reason for him not to be in general ed? Well, I say no. I say those are not enough reasons, but let's look at the test for what a court would consider in making a determination as to what the least restrictive environment is. So the kind of the big important case along these lines is Holland versus Sacramento Unified School District. So it originated in California, and this was kind of the first case that looked in depth at the question of LRE. And so just to give you some of the background facts, Rachel Holland was born in 1982. She had a tested IQ of 44. So obviously that is a factor, as we'll see. She attended Sacramento Public Schools from 1985 to 1989. And for that 4-year time period, she spent only 1 hour a day in gen ed, and they moved her around 6 times a day, which is kind of interesting because that sounds more like she's being mainstream, but that was not the case. So then, in terms of the stats on inclusion, at the time of the decision, when this was being looked at, there were almost 5 million special ed kids in the country that were receiving education in gen ed classes, and 3.5 million of those kids spent more than 40% of their instructional day in the general ed classroom. So already that was, some mainstreaming going on anyway. So the way this all works, the way that the mandate for least restrictive environment works is if you're a state and you accept federal funds for your special education programs, you are required to offer a free appropriate public education. We've talked about that, right? There has to be more than, there has to be some meaningful progress from year to year. So you must offer FAPE in the least restrictive environment. And the least restrictive environment notion, interestingly, has its roots in Brown versus Board of Education, where the court talked about how separate but equal was not acceptable. And similarly in special ed, we have kind of what has been called a zero reject policy, which means you get special ed whether somebody thinks you can learn and benefit or not. So there's no separate but equal, and there also has to be an individualized IEP. So what the courts have ended up with in the different circuits is their own version of kind of balancing tests for the benefit of general ed for a student with an IEP versus potential detriments either to the student or the class. So what you're looking at essentially is educational benefit in the general ed setting versus would you get more in a special ed setting. The disruption to the general classroom, and believe it or not, they're also allowed to look at cost, which we usually cost is not allowed to be a factor. So there's different tests in different circuits, but I'd say in general, in most circuits that have talked about this, the presumption is you start with the notion that the child can be mainstreamed. So that's kind of radical for us to be reminded of, that we start with the presumption that mainstreaming can work, and that's going to be mainstreaming with supports, not, kind of bare naked, throw you in, sink or swim. So LRE has to be explored first. In the Holland case, what was really beneficial, I think, good facts make good law. Rachel's parents pulled her out of the Sacramento public schools. They put her in a private parochial school. And as some of us know, sometimes the kind of support you get in private school is pretty amazing because people really support the mission. So there was testimony available from Rachel's second grade teacher, and the second grade teacher was very positive on the subject of her mainstreaming experience, and the court looked at that a lot. So some of the things discussed were Rachel learned from imitation, so she really benefited from having regular peers in her environment, for 6 hours a day. And she needed an aide and a part-time inclusion specialist to be able to be in the classroom. But one of the good things that happened is while the case was on appeal, she was in stay put for first and second grade in the general ed environment, and she continued to make progress. So those are very sympathetic facts, and the court then went on to essentially craft a test for how you decide whether the general ed environment is the appropriate least restrictive environment. So the 4 factors that they looked at were sort of the benefit of the interaction, the effect on the teacher and other children, and the costs. Private school came in and said, she's doing great. She doesn't really seem that different to us than other second graders. And they said, they had what the public schools normally have in these situations, they had tons of daily interaction data with her, because she'd been in this classroom for so many years. The district didn't have access to her, so they tried to use her assessments and show that based on her IQ and her progress, she wasn't a good candidate for this. But the court didn't buy it because the plaintiffs were able to show she didn't consume undue attention. And the court found that, she was learning and benefiting from the general ed environment. And the district didn't meet its burden of showing that general ed was not beneficial to her. So the inclusion placement was upheld. Now, the court looked at the cost, and the court was displeased with the district because what the district did was they tried to show that the cost was astronomical, that it would cost, I think, over $100,000 to do her, her aid services and the other things she needed. But the court was displeased with the defendant school district because they didn't bring in a cost comparison and show what would happen if, what it would cost if she were being educated in special ed instead. So that was kind of where we got our LRE, standard in California. And so if we wanted to apply the factors to the family that wrote in this week, I see a lot of positives that should support the child's remaining in general education. First of all, he is only in first grade, and courts have talked about the fact that at that age, the social benefits and the language benefits and everything are huge, and they balance with that in mind, the age of the child. If the child is a seventh grader, they're probably going to be more concerned with educational benefit than social, or linguistic benefit. So that would be one thing. Okay, other things. He's not a distraction to the class, and we already heard that that's something the court's going to look at. He's not a danger to other kids in the class. Well, that's obviously important. He requires ABA support in the classroom, but the Holland Court and other courts have said that, LRE is by definition something that you may only be able to do if you have appropriate supports and services, but you're required to individualize. And if you can meet the other factors of the test, the fact that you need an aid to access general education should not be a bar to having that education. So I don't think that that's going to automatically work against him. My son is not able to write yet. Well, we want to see him start writing, but have they done an assistive technology evaluation or an OT evaluation? Why can't he write yet? Is that a failure of the student or a failure of the programming? He's verbal but still severely speech delayed for his age. Well, that seems like a great argument in favor of having an aid in the general ed environment where there's going to be so much immersion in neurotypical age-appropriate speech and language. His academics are at preschool level. Well, we know from the accommodations that that's going to be something that we can modify curriculum, we can give extended time. Ultimately, if he's not able to keep up with the class in maybe third or fourth or fifth grade, he's going to have to move, but I wouldn't say so for first grade. So to me, there's enough reasons for him to be in the least restrictive environment of a general ed classroom, for a year or two, and then it gets looked at again. But that's kind of how I would analyze that particular case.
And Bonnie, that was a mouthful. Thank you so much. And so for this mom who's there at the IEP and they're saying to her, there's no benefit, what is her next step? Because I think it's helpful to know that the law is on your side, and Matt, jump in whenever you want to, but then sometimes you're like, what do I do? Because they said no.
Well, yeah, and then there's it's a very frustrating cycle there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you've got parents that are intimidated by by these PhDs that are sitting across the table from them.
Yeah.
What do you do in that situation?
Well, they're not always PhDs, but
well, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. They try to pass themselves off as PhDs.
To the parents sitting across the table from them, they're PhDs.
Yeah. Okay, well, that was a little bit of a passive-aggressive comment on my part anyway. So, so what I would say is, what evidence do they have? Who are their outside service providers? Have they had an assessment recently? Because those are the people that can speak to the capability of the child to function in general ed.
So is it time for this mom to lawyer up?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's time. but it's also time for her to assessment up.
Okay.
She needs somebody who is a PhD or a neuropsych or a BCBA who can talk about where this kid is at and the benefits that he is getting or isn't getting where he is. It was not clear to me. It sounds as if I couldn't tell if her child is in general ed or is not in general ed. It's obviously going to be easier in some ways if the child is in general ed and they're trying to take him out, because first of all, the burden of proof will be on the district if they want to change the placement. Second of all, the hope would be that you'd have teachers and or aides from the general ed environment who could speak to the positive benefits and the relatively few detriments to the placement. That's what you need.
And if he's already in gen ed, Bonnie, then she could enforce a stay put while she fights. But if he's not already in gen ed, then she's got to fight while they keep him in special ed and he loses all that time. That always gives me pain.
Yeah.
Well, that's true, but something we haven't, talked about at all on this program is how you extricate yourself from a bad school situation, which is what the Hollands did.
Yeah.
They put Rachel in a private school where the teachers were supportive of the mission. One thing we can talk about sometime is for parents that can't afford private school. In California, there is this option of the caregiver affidavit, which is something that you can set up without going to court, and it allows you to enroll your child in another district if you have a caregiver there. So maybe what this parent needs to be looking at is whether another school district has more of a user-friendly attitude toward inclusion. I mean, I'm not sure. I think Rachel would not have won the case, or might not have won the case, but she had such great evidence from the private school. So what to do if you're stuck and they won't let you into general ed is sort of a second conversation.
Sometimes, Bonnie, you're talking about something else and you drop this nugget of something that I've never heard of before. This whole idea that you could, if you have a caregiver in another district, move your child to that district. Bonnie, that's huge.
So that could be a family member that lives in another district that
Friend, family member, employer, anybody who wants to help. We found out about it. We found out about it in the way that you would expect that we would, which is we had a family that was being kicked out of a district on residency grounds, and they went and got a caregiver affidavit, and that took care of the problem. So we can talk about that sometime if you want. I didn't mean to hijack the conversation with that.
No, it's a golden nugget. That's an extra goodie for the day, Bonnie. That's the kind of stuff I get super excited about because I wouldn't know to ask that.
Right.
Would you?
No, I wouldn't.
And I that's amazing. Good. That's good stuff.
Okay, well that's great.
We love it when you drop these nuggets.
because there are a lot of caregivers out there.
There certainly can be.
Yeah.
That certainly can be. Okay. So,
At first I thought you had to do some sort of guardianship, which was a real hassle because you have to go to court and you're signing legal rights. This is really just kind of like California's pretty flexible about, certain things, starting a private school in your home, this caregiver permit, which is a creation of state statute, and I don't know whether there are analogs in other states, but for us in California, this can be a very useful thing.
absolutely. Bonnie, unfortunately, we're about out of time. Did we already cover the goodie? Forgive me for
I
not.
sent you the goodie. The goodie was a sheet of accommodations.
Yes.
Way behind on questions, but we're going to start trying to rock through them.
Yes.
I know we're out of time, and I just feel really remiss because I did want to say that in the procedural safeguards that you get at your IEP, there is a discussion on both FAPE and least restrictive environment. I meant to read those to you. I didn't, but they're there.
Okay.
So anyway.
But I thank you so much, and I apologize because we came to you late, and so it was you had less time to work with than normal. But I
only need to mention that I was just like, what, has something happened to Shannon? I hope that the valley hasn't fallen into the ocean or something.
Not at all. Can I tell you, I got wrapped up in the fact that we had on the show a fabulous young man who is an actor on the spectrum who's featured on Atypical, and I got so caught up that I ran late, and I apologize, but you understand how luscious that is.
Nick's been texting me about that. Okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good.
That's why
Matt,
I was late. So I humbly apologize, but I know you get it.
Please.
So
Matt, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Shannon, talk to you later. Have a
thank
good
you
week.
so much. And I will send that mom your information for her to call you.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you so much for
Take
being
care,
so
everyone.
amazing. And we want to say thank you again to Hirji and Chow as well.
Great.
And
I'll let them
also, Bonnie always says they are happy to give a free half-hour consultation. So contact Hirji and Chow. I can't tell you how beneficial it is to spend a half an hour with a lawyer and bounce things off of them.
Yeah.
Of course, you can always write in here and ask your questions, but we're starting to get inundated with questions, and obviously we don't get to all of them. So you can always call and set up a half-hour free consultation.
And we are trying to get to all of them.
We're on a mission, right, Bonnie? We're going to get to all these questions one way or the other. I've been sort of keeping it from Bonnie how many questions, and I've started to send her just a soupçon of the bank. I don't know if you realize, Bonnie, that was only a very small portion of what has come in.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, keep the cards and letters coming, as we say, and I'll talk to everyone next week.
Thank you so much, Bonnie.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
So should we take a short break?
Sure.
And then we're going to come back with Matt Asner, and we're going to talk about this fabulous poker tournament and why everybody should be there and supporting it, and how you're really going to miss it if you don't.
Yeah, you're going to be there.
Yes, I'm absolutely going to be there. You couldn't. Wild horses wouldn't keep me away. All right, so we're going to be back with more Autism Live after these messages. Stick with us.
Potty training is different for every child. A child could come in with absolutely, no control over their bladder, and as long as that's not a medical issue, then we can certainly approach it behaviorally and give them the tools they need to be successful, just like any other skill that we would teach.
Well, we think he's learning to pee on the potty. No big successes yet, and lots of accidents. Here is the laundry from today.
For some of our kids takes, just a couple days. And then for other kids, it can take months and months and months. And then when you're looking at complete independence, it can take years.
Hey, you have to go pee-pee?
There's a lot of different ways to tell if a child is ready. We look for a couple different things. Probably the most important is parents saying, I need this to happen, I'm ready. Second is, a child showing interest in the bathroom, and some of it is simply age. It's time to go ahead and work on this.
What are you doing? Pooping. You're pooping?
You first start with teaching the child what they need to do on the toilet. The basic thing we want is for them to drink as much liquid as possible. It's inevitable that if you drink a bunch of liquid, you're gonna pee.
No, I can't help you pee. I can hold your hand, but I can't help you pee.
Ultimately, what we want is that, the child, as soon as they're put on the toilet, they urinate. So that's step one. Step two is usually working through the amount of time that they're off of the toilet and making sure that they're not having accidents during the time that they're off. So this is kind of the bladder control stage of things.
So the purpose of the potty log is just to see how long it takes them as soon as they sit on the potty for them to actually urinate, and the amount of time that he's able to hold his urine. And with the log, we're able to visually see how long it takes them each time, and if they have accidents or not. He's on a half-hour potty schedule, so if he doesn't go when we take him, then we have to take him in 10 more minutes. So every 10-minute intervals until he does go, and then we reset the clock, and it's 30 minutes again.
Okay, buddy. Okay, last chance to go pee-pees. Do we reset it for 10?
Oh, what does that mean? What does that mean, Jack? It's potty time! We can come play after. Hurry!
What we hope happens in this time is that the kids will learn how to initiate going to the bathroom on their own. This is oftentimes the hardest part of potty training, is because they get so used to somebody telling them when they need to go that they're not really recognizing the signs just in their own body of when they need to go.
Oh, he wet himself.
Uh-oh. Big wet?
Was it a lot? We can reset to half an hour now.
The biggest thing for parents is not to give up. The other big tip, and I think pitfall that a lot of parents fall into, is putting their children back into pull-ups or diapers, especially if they're starting to have accidents. And this is probably the worst thing that you can do. They need to recognize that feeling of fullness in their bladder and take themselves to the bathroom or tell an adult that they need to go to the bathroom.
What do you have to do? You have to put your pee-pee in the potty. Okay, give it a shot. See if you can put it in there. There you go. There you go. You're doing it. Yay, job. Big push for your pee-pee. Big for your pee-pee. Yay! Woo! Yay! Good job. What a big boy. High five, high five, high five, high five, high five, high five, high five.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm so excited because I have here with me Matt Asner, the fabulous Matt Asner, who I adore. You know I adore you, right? You. Well, I adore you more, and I adore your whole family.
Thank
you. And your extended family, yes. And you know the old vaudeville thing about my mother thanks you, my father thanks you. I thank all of you. Thrilled that you're here, and we want to talk about the Ed Asner poker tournament that's coming up. I got a couple of quick things that I have to address here, a couple of comments that I'd love your input on as well. Diane has written in and said that this is an amazing show, so we love Diane. And Diane is an ABA therapist in the Philippines.
Wow.
How much do we love Diane?
That's
and
great.
The fact that she wrote in to tell us. Thank you, because we love to hear that things are happening all over the place. Courtney wanted to know, do we think that people with disabilities have enough opportunities to be in plays? Because that's sort of our topic today. Do you think that they have enough opportunity to be in plays, Mr. Asner?
Not yet.
Not yet. But
I have a weird take on this.
Okay. I like the weird take.
There's a big argument that we should be hiring autistic people to play autistic people, and that's a big issue, and we seem to be talking about that a lot in social media.
Yes.
And I really feel that we shouldn't be talking about that. We should be talking about having autistic people play people.
Yes.
And I think that's what we should be talking about, because an autistic actor is an actor.
Right.
He's not an autistic actor, he's an actor. And I think the dialogue has to be veered off over in that direction. And I don't think it does anyone any good to have a conversation where we're talking about an autistic actor playing an autistic part, because it's not a winnable situation. And
I don't think that's a weird take on it at all. Actually, last week on the show I said, while I want for there to be opportunities for autistic actors to be able to audition for whatever, I'm never going to support a thing about only a person with autism can play a person with autism, because then the flip will be true, which means that a person with autism can't ever play somebody who doesn't have autism.
Exactly.
And I'm not going to
That's
get
not
on
what we
board
want,
with
is
that.
it?
I'm not getting on board with
No.
that. And so I don't think that's weird at all. I think, amen. I'm like right there with you.
That said,
yes,
there aren't enough opportunities out there, and what's important that we do in that circumstance is that we have to educate people more. We have to make them realize that these people are able and they're capable and they're good.
Absolutely.
And if they audition them, then they could get the part.
Absolutely.
Just like any actor.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. And somebody else wrote in and said that their daughter plays Sprinkles the Clown on their channel and that she rocked it, and she's so excited to be acting and seeing herself in video. I think that that's wonderful.
I want to know about Sprinkles the
I
Clown.
want to know where your channel is, and I
Yeah.
want to see Sprinkles the Clown. So write back to us and tell us that. And then we also want to say we had a contest to give away a scallop.
Ooh.
I don't know if you've ever
Ooh,
seen
look at
these.
that. What is that?
It folds up. It looks like a little beach bag, but what it is a little chair support, so that for
Artistically designed chair support.
Totally. We had
Really
the
nice.
designer on the show last week, and she designed this while she was a graduate student. And they come in all different sizes. Even adults can use them. It is something that you could take to a concert. Like if you're going to the Hollywood Bowl, when you sit back into it, what it does is it like wraps around you.
It hugs you.
It hugs. It's exactly what it does, Mr. Asner.
That's great.
And but what they have and it was designed because there was a little kiddo that she was working with that had a hard time sitting up. So they're great for our kids that are in circle time and just need that little, like they don't have enough core strength yet. and are fidgety a little bit. So it's great for circle time. So we were giving one of these away, and I wanted to announce that the winner of the scallop is Diana Amaya. And so Diana, congratulations. We're in contact with you, and we're gonna have Conveyed and R82 shipping that off.
Does she
to you.
get a big one or a small one?
Well, she gets to say what size her
Really?
child, and then that one will be shipped to her. So we want to thank Conveyed and R82 for having done that.
Scallop.
The scallop.
Okay.
And you can use it as the beach bag. That's the thing I like about it the most. So you know what kids are doing, and they go to Circle Time and one thing, and then they take it and it's their little bag, and they go to the next thing, and then they
awesome.
sit down and they sit themselves into it. It's ownership. It's a fabulous thing.
Love that.
You sent me what she wrote. She said, and we're allowed to say everything that she said. It's for her 3-year-old diagnosed with autism at 2.5 with some sensory issues. It's going to be a perfect thing for him at his school.
Nice.
So she says, thank you for this wonderful gift. And she knows that he's going to be excited to try it as well.
And he'll be the envy of the class because
Totally, everyth's going to want one.
it's going to be sitting in style.
And they come in different colors. How much do we love the little scallops? And
Love
we love Conveyed. Conveyed's been amazing. They've been very generous. They gave a special needs car seat to a mom who needed it so desperately last December. Really amazing. You can take that, Matt. I've got more.
I want to look at that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you guys want to know more about the scallop, the number is right there. Will you read it for them, Mr. Ouse?
I will. It is 844-876-6245, and that is 844 US Mobility.
This is not his first dog and pony show.
No.
You're a professional at this. Okay, so we've taken care of business for the moment. Guys, keep writing in comments. But this amazing event that's happening on September 9th.
Which is also my birthday.
I was just going to say, I know your
Yes.
birthday is sometime that week.
Yeah. And believe me, I'm going to mention it a couple of times that night.
Well, hello. I would think that has to up the ante.
Yes.
Pun.
No pun intended.
Right.
Yes.
Pun totally intended.
Yes.
That for people donating and doing whatever, because we have to turn out to wish you a very happy birthday. We're happy that you're on the planet.
Thank
so
you.
we celebrate that. But your dad is going to be there, and he likes to play poker a little bit.
If he's not there, we got a bit of a problem. Because it's called the Ed Asner Poker
That's
Tournament.
right.
So.
But he comes and he brings with him a level of friendship,
Yes.
people that show up. It's
Well,
kind of amazing.
When I got into the autism world 6 years ago, 7 years ago, I wanted to do something with him that was something that was a little bit signature for him.
Yes.
And so he loves poker.
Yeah.
And he loves playing with friends.
Yeah.
And so the idea was floated that we would do the Ed Asner Poker Tournament.
Yeah.
So this is actually the 5th year we've done this. This is the first time we've done it with the Autism Society.
Yes.
And I'm there now, so that's what happens.
Yes.
We're excited. We're really excited. We're actually going into this poker tournament better than we've ever been, and we're really excited. We got a ton of celebrities joining us.
I mean, and we've got a picture up, a representation of some of the people that are going to be there.
Well, let's see. We have Ed Asner.
Yes.
He was the most difficult one to get on board. He was difficult. Then we have Rosie O'Donnell, and she was there last year, and she's just a great person.
She's a good poker player, too.
She's a good poker player, and she's really a good person.
Yes.
She's really a good person.
Yes.
Tom Bergeron, Wayne Brady, Drake Bell, who is a good young man, a really nice young man who's got a new album out. Dylan McDermott, Holly Robinson Pete, Ed Begley. We have Matthew Modine that's going to be there.
Wow.
We have Randy Rainbow.
Oh, no way!
Randy Rainbow is
Oh,
going
no,
to
see,
come.
that makes me really excited. I've never met Randy,
Yeah,
but
you're
I
going to meet Randy.
love Randy.
So for those of you who don't know who Randy Rainbow is this guy who, I don't know what side of the fence you're on politically, but he makes these videos that are kind of a little bit...
They're musical videos.
They're musical parodies about the current status of the way things are politically in the United States. And
Right.
he's just a terrific guy, and he's very excited to be there with us, and we're excited to have him.
That's exciting. That's
And
really exciting. That's a great guy.
Greg Grunberg is going to be there.
Yeah.
Who else do we have?
Andy Dick, I
Andy
hear, is
Dick,
going to be
yes,
there.
Andy Dick.
Okay.
And I mean, that's a lot right there.
That is. I
right?
mean, that's more than enough reason to show up.
And the
Plus,
great-
it's your birthday.
Exactly. And the great thing is you get to sit at a table with one of these celebrities. So every table will have 1 or 2 celebrities at it.
Okay.
And you get to sit down and play poker with these people. And it's an elimination game.
Yes.
So you sit down and play poker, and we consolidate tables. And so you actually could sit at a table with 9 celebrities.
Right.
And you're the only kind of civilian there.
That could easily happen.
Could easily happen.
But we will say that it's all to raise money, and that's
Yes.
the intent of it. So if you get out too early, you can buy your way back in. Because that money goes towards
all
the
goes to
Society of
Autism
America.
Society of America. And
Yeah.
that's an important place to put your money right now.
It is an important place to put your money right now. And I'd love to take a break and then come back and talk about why that's an important
Let's do
place
it.
to put your money right now.
Let's
Okay.
do it.
So, but before we go, let's just do some of the highlights of this. Is happening on September 9th, Matt's birthday. Location.
Location is Hayworth Showroom, which is at 444 South Flower.
Okay.
It's the City National Tower.
Okay.
And it's the 48th floor, so you're going to get to look out the window and see what's going on in Los Angeles.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's a beautiful, wonderful.
It is a beautiful location.
Showroom.
I'm not so good with elevators, but even I have been
Nava's
up
not
on
very
this
good with
elevator.
elevators either.
Nav and I can cling to each other on the way up. If you want to register to be there, there are a couple of different ways you can do it. You can just be a spectator.
Yeah.
And honestly, for spectator price, it's a great price. I understand it's $100.
It's $100. You get food and drink and fun.
And get to be there.
We have some amazing things happening. We have an incredible auction with incredible items. I mean, we have a couple of pieces of jewelry that are worth a ton of money, like thousands of dollars.
Right.
That you're going to be able to put a ticket in a jar and could win that.
Okay.
And we have a trip to Maui. We have a trip to Africa. I mean, it's some great auction items. Great auction items. We have a gentleman joining us by the name of Scott Nathan, who is a very famous photographer, who's going to actually take portraits sitting. He's going to do a portrait sitting with everyone who comes. Anyone who wants to have a portrait sitting has a quick portrait sitting with him.
Wow.
It's kind of a borrow on what they do at the Oscars.
Okay.
With Mark Seliger. And so it's going to be just a fun, incredible, wonderful experience for anyone who comes, even if you don't play poker.
So if you just want to come, if you're not a poker player and you just want to come, you can come for $100. I gotta say, there's no other event that you can go to for that price point and meet the people that are going to be there at this. So it's crazy for you to not go for $100. But then if you want to play poker, what's the buy-in to start?
If you want to play poker, it's $200.
Okay, which that's also crazy too.
Great, and you've got hours of playing time, hopefully,
Yes.
if you're a good poker
If you're
player.
good, and if you're not, you can buy back in, and the price for that changes, I think, by the hour, doesn't it? Or am I wrong on that?
It does.
So as it gets later, it costs you more money to buy in, because it should. You can't
Yeah.
just buy in at the end.
But if
I got a little uppity there, didn't I?
If you're a decent poker player, you can hang in there for a while. You can have a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a great evening. People should go. We're going to be there covering it live, we hope, fingers crossed. Red carpet. We were live there last year, so I don't see any reason why we couldn't be live this year. But because usually it's a signal thing. But we'll see.
Well, it's a different place, but I think
thought
it should
was
be
the same
okay.
as last. No.
No, Hayworth is different. It's a different place.
Okay.
Steel case last year.
Okay, I'm completely out in left field. But in any case, hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll have a signal enough to get out to you guys live. And it's a great evening. Where do they go to sign up?
This is the easiest part of the whole thing.
Okay, good.
Because all they have to do is go to pokerwithed.com.
Okay.
There it is right there. Pokerwithed.com and just the sign-up sheet's right there.
Okay.
You can read a little bit about the tournament, and that's it.
Okay.
Easy as pie.
Wonderful. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the fact that the money goes to the Autism Society of America, and Ed says it too, but as Matt said, why it's more important than ever to be giving some dollars to the Autism Society of America. So stick with us.
What is autism? What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
I've been asking myself that for a very, very long time.
Let me think about that one?
Trying to just
Let me think. Oh man, that's a rough one. Yes.
autism.
Autism is a neurological disorder that affects many of our kids in different ways.
It's a learning disability that affects the cognitive functions of the brain.
A lot of people have the misconception that it's a disability, and it's really not.
I look at it as like a special gift.
When one person thinks differently from another.
It's an opportunity for everyone to learn to understand someone that's a little different than them. Autism is the ability to educate.
They're given so much talent in different areas.
To me, autism means a chance to be with and be around people you really care about. Autism is beautiful.
It's a way of seeing the world differently.
It's always unique, totally intelligent, and sometimes mysterious.
Happiness that comes out of my son's hard work.
It's a movement.
Unpredictable.
Abstract.
Awesome. Love.
The field I want to work in.
Laughter, fun, joy. Autism is beautiful to me.
I want you to remember these 3 words. There is hope.
A lot of adults don't really believe kids. They'll think, kids are kids, what are they talking about? But when a child stands up for what they believe in, it's so strong and powerful. I first got involved with autism advocacy 4 years ago when my friend was diagnosed. When I found out about my friend's diagnosis, I didn't really understand what it meant. But it didn't matter to me or change our friendship. I didn't look at her any differently. We still had so much fun together. Now I know that she experiences life a little differently than me, and that's okay. Knowing what she goes through has helped me to understand and be more caring towards other people in similar situations. I got involved with ACT Today because I wanted to do whatever I could to help. They provide options like behavioral therapy, medical care, social skills programs, assistance to military families, and much more. Being there for my friend was my #1 priority. I've been volunteering and spreading the word about the cause via my social media platform because raising awareness is a crucial first step. There needs to be more kids and teens involved to make sure that our voices are heard just as loudly as the adults. You may be small like me, but your acts of kindness are not.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We're here with our good friend Matt Asner, and he's talking with us about the Ed Asner Poker Tournament that's happening on September 9th. And we just were talking during the break, and your lovely wife is here, although she refuses to be on camera, and I don't know why, because she's so amazing.
She doesn't want to make me look bad.
Oh, please.
No, it's true. It's true. She doesn't want to make me look bad.
We were just talking about what a great deal, if you're not a poker player, to come for $100 and there's an open bar and you get to meet celebrities and you get to sit for a portrait setting that is like
it would normally cost you about $3,000. Yeah.
It's crazy. People need to line up. And I would imagine at a certain point you can only take a certain number of people for that $100 ticket.
We're getting
so
close.
if you want to do it, you got to sign up right now. And we said that the place to sign up for it was
pokerwithed.com.
Okay.
And just go to the website. It's all there.
Okay. But we want to
Join
talk.
us.
We want people should want to know where their dollars are going, and this event is going to benefit the Autism Society of America. And part of what you have done in the last year, and I really have to say publicly, I've said this to you privately, but you have escalated the face of Autism Society of America in the last year and put them on the map, because I think before that, if you didn't know about the Autism Society of America, you just didn't know about the Autism Society of America. But people, you have rejuvenated this, and it's a great organization. So I'm thrilled that we've always been supportive of Autism Society and their mission, but you really have put them on the map this last year, Matt.
Well, I appreciate your words, but I got to tell you, there's some incredible people working there. Scott Badish, who's the president, is a visionary, and he's one of these people that I'm just really fortunate to work with.
He's great.
He's a man that really walks the walk, and he believes in what he does, and I can say that about everyone who works at Autism Society, whether they're at the affiliate level or they're at the national level. all of these people are 100% involved and engaged and want to change the lives of everyone living with autism and their families.
And if people don't know, I mean, this is the oldest organization having to do with autism here in the United States.
50 years
more
old.
than 50 years.
Yeah, more than 50 years.
And that it was formed by parents.
Yep.
And that everybody who is involved because it's personal. That this is really the genesis of how this organization started, was that it was personal, and it remains that way. So you'll get no argument from me that it's a great organization run by great people.
Well, and I think one of the important things to stress here is that we're really the boots on the ground. We're really the boots on the ground in the community. The amazing thing about Autism Society is that we have 90 plus affiliates across the country. And they're all autonomous. They're all kind of moving, to their own beat. Nationally, we have a national presence, but they're able to kind of focus at the community level the way I think other organizations aren't.
Yes.
And that's in that way we have a very local feel.
Yeah.
And so it's really important. Actually, I'm going to tell you something. It's really important in times like we're living in right now. Where we have a horrible, awful situation right now in Texas, where people need a lot of help, and the Autism Society of Texas right now is really stepping up and doing whatever they can to help people at the community level. So, and I want to say, just if you can, make a donation to Autism Society of Texas.
There you go.
They really need the help right now, because we're
Absolutely.
really trying to help as many people on the ground as possible in Texas, people that are affected by autism in some way, and their families, and there are a lot of them, and so it's important that we support that as much as possible.
Absolutely. For people who aren't familiar with the term affiliates, so these are individual offices all around the country that you have. So where might we find the Autism Society of Texas? Would they have their own Facebook page?
Yes, they have their own Facebook page,
Okay.
and you can you go to the Autism Society of Texas and make a donation straight there.
Okay, great.
And it's, I think, a really great way of contributing
Absolutely.
to these very difficult times we live in.
Absolutely. And then I think so many of us, I was saying this yesterday, that when a tragedy like this happens, we watch and we're stunned and we feel powerless, and it's important to do something. And that often those of us in the autism community, you absolutely can give money to the Red Cross, but I always want to make sure that it's going, because I think about what is it like for the autism families. I want to make sure that it's going to help autism families, because they need even more.
Yeah.
So what a great way to do that. Autism
Yes.
Society of Texas. Fabulous. So, but for this tournament, all of the money from the tournament, the proceeds from it, are going to Autism Society of America. And we said, let's talk a little bit about how that money gets used and why you should be supporting Autism Society right now.
Well, like I said, we're the boots on the ground in
Yes.
each community, and that takes money to kind of orchestrate.
Yeah, you don't have to right now put people on planes to get to Texas so that you can assess the
Exactly.
situation. You've already got people that
That's
are
right.
there, that are part of the community, that are in neighboring towns, that
That's
are
right.
already there.
And I want to say, nationally, we have a situation, we're just coming out of a situation, and it's an ongoing situation, a healthcare situation.
Yes.
That, I think I think we led the way in that regard, in making sure that people, contacted their leaders and said, we're not
Yes.
going to sit down and take this.
Yeah.
I think we have an incredible advocacy team, in Washington, that really was working overtime during this whole period of time,
Yeah.
so we I think really led the way in that regard, and I really want to thank everyone nationally that was a part of that effort, because I think we did a great job in getting the word out.
Yeah. I think sometimes, if I could say this, that people get confused because there's a lot of different organizations that are out there and they're doing different things, and people get judgy sometimes about, well, why aren't you doing this and why aren't you doing that? And I always say you need to look at what the mission is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a very exciting mission that's Autism Society of America that, and I can tell you from going to, I wasn't able to go to this year's conference, but I have been to Autism Society of America conferences, and until you're there, I think you don't really get it. To see the number of adults that are on the autism spectrum that participate with Autism Society, and because of Autism Society's mission, I don't want to speak to the whole thing, but I know that a great part of it is to make the lives meaningful of all individuals on the spectrum.
Absolutely, and that's look, autism is a spectrum disorder. It's also it's a life spectrum.
Yes.
So we're talking about people who are infants, and we're talking about people who are elderly.
Yes.
So we're seeing actually more and more people get older. And,
yes.
And
good. I mean,
And
that's
good.
exactly what we
Exactly.
want, is for our individuals who are on the autism spectrum to grow up, to be healthy enough to grow up.
Exactly.
But then there is a responsibility to make sure that we are all keeping in alignment with having their lives be meaningful and purposeful.
And this means employment.
Yes.
This means housing.
Yes.
And this means finding ways to make sure that gets done.
Yes.
And that's what we're doing.
Absolutely. And you're doing a lot of different things to shed more light on that. And to bring, and I love the way you look at it, Matt. That one of the first things that you did was you did the film festival, the
Right.
Oddfest. And there are some people who might look at that and go, oh, that's a little airy-fairy, but I love the fact that there is no way to change hearts and minds faster than through film.
Well, I agree, and I think that the thing that really appealed to me about Oddfest was you were showing 15 films during this 2-day period.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about awareness or acceptance, it's important to know what we're talking about. So with the what Oddfest enabled us to do was show this wonderful group of people that showed up for Oddfest, these 15 different lives.
Yeah.
Whether it was a documentary or a drama, they were all people living through the world of autism. And that linked us. And if people left the theater knowing a little more about the world we live in and the world that we're a part of, then I think that's great. Because the one thing that I think we really need to do better is communicate better.
Yeah.
And we need to understand each other better, because your view of autism is different than my view of autism.
Yeah.
My view of autism is different than Nava's view. Well, we're kind of similar, but but let's bring up one of my favorite people, Alex Plank. Alex Plank has a different view of autism than I have, and we're all right.
Yes.
We're all correct in the way we feel.
Yes.
And what we need to do is understand that we're all correct in the way we feel, and that we all have a part in this.
Yes.
And once we realize that, the self-advocate that's advocating for themselves and that's able to speak out and stand up for their rights, that's a great place to be.
It's a great thing to celebrate.
But a parent that also has a young adult on the spectrum at home, or a child at home who can't take care of themselves, they are just as much a part of this situation as they are. And so we need to understand, we need to have a clear understanding that we're all in this together. I think once we have that clear understanding, I think we can move as a unit. And if you think about how big that unit can be, I think we can really effectuate change in a massive and grand way.
Yes.
And I think we have to think more like that. We have to be more understanding of each other, and I think Oddfest was a way
Absolutely.
of really kind of making that
You're
happen.
taking us to church at the moment, because this is the thing. I think we all get it. We need to get on the same page, at least on a couple of different things. We don't have to all be in agreement about all aspects of anything.
We're never going to all be in agreement.
But we all need to embrace each other in the fact that we are all part of a big, beautiful community that is a spectrum, and recognize, as you said, that we all have a place there. And when we do, I think that that's the thing, that the autism community is just on the verge of it. And when we do, we are a bargaining unit. We have the ability, as you said, to affect change. So,
and I would just say that if you're out there and you have opinions, I think that's great.
Yes.
But just listen to people, and
Yes.
rather than throw shade.
Yes.
And immediately, snap to the defensive.
Yes.
Let's all kind of listen to each other and understand each other a little more. And I think if we do that, I think we're going to be in a much better place.
Yes. And I, for one, and I know that you feel the same way, whenever I am talking to somebody who is a described self-advocate, I'm always excited and thrilled.
Absolutely.
Because what I see before me is the future. I have a son who is about to be there, and I go, look at this person who is articulating their opinion, and I am able to understand what they are saying, and I get excited.
Absolutely.
I never want to in any way make it so that they don't have a voice always. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to agree with everything that is said, but I'm always going to celebrate for our adults and young people and even the children to be able to communicate their needs always.
Absolutely.
That is the place we come from as parents. I think sometimes that is misunderstood. That often people will say, well, you're trying to hush us. And I know that you never are. I know that is never what's in my heart. I always want to give the
last
forum.
thing in the world that I want.
Right, but but not hushing you doesn't mean that I'm always going to agree with you.
Right.
But how lucky are we that we can disagree?
Let's have a dialogue.
Isn't that what we all want to get to? Is that the ability for everybody to be able to communicate and not necessarily agree.
Yes.
Woohoo, winning. Yeah. Absolutely winning. Okay. Winning. All right, let's take a short break. We don't have a whole lot of time left, but let's take a short break and then we're going to come back and talk more with Matt Asner. Stick with us.
Nobody ever asks a kid with autism, what is it you'd really like to do? At this school, we ask the kids, what is your goal? What is your dream? Exceptional Minds is a vocational training program for young adults on the autism spectrum who want to have careers in computer animation and visual effects. I think young people with autism are totally underestimated.
When you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. They all have different talents, different skills, and what surprised me is that there really are no limits, that if these guys believe that they can do something, they really can.
It's estimated that 90 to 95% of young adults with autism are unemployed or underemployed.
A lot of young adults still live at home. A lot of them suffer from depression and are very isolated from the rest of the world, and the opportunities for them are very limited.
We want to develop careers for our young adults. Our full-time program runs 3 years, at the end of which we have job placement and job coaching. We have a work readiness program. We also have our own in-house studio so that when our students graduate, they can do on-the-job training and work on real projects.
We outsourced about 30-40 shots to the team here. They did fantastic work that we can put into a movie and be proud of it. It's great. I mean, we want to do it again.
The studio is their first step into the professional world, the first step in their new careers as digital artists.
The whole purpose is to get the students out into the real world.
I mainly do like rotoscoping right now, and I'm still learning.
I think that you find great talent in the most amazing places. The students at Exceptional Minds have had a fair amount of training to get them ready for the visual effects environment.
If it wasn't for Exceptional Minds, I might still be at the supermarket, and I might be living at my parents' house.
Everything's changed. Nikki has purpose.
It feels like I'm a member of society now.
He's capable of making it on his own.
Once you get inside and you see what's really happening there, you immediately want to be a part of it.
It's the dream factory, the movie business, and if you can connect people with their dreams, then the magic happens.
At Exceptional Minds, we like to say that we are changing lives one frame at a time.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We are here with the fabulous Matt Asner. He came to join us today to talk about the Ed Asner Poker Tournament, which is happening on September 9th. You really want to go to it if you're anywhere in the area. It's the best ticket in town, honestly. You can play for $200 or you can just be a spectator for $100 with an open bar.
But wait. It's not just a spectator.
Well,
you're actually at a big party.
Exactly.
You know? So while people are playing poker at tables, you're actually there having the most fun because you're partying with all these amazing people. Because once a celebrity gets out, they join the party.
Right. So I hate to say this because. But I think your ticket price is too low in the realm of how everything else is. But the good news for you guys is if you were going to go to one thing and you don't have a whole lot of cash, this is the one to go to.
You know what? I didn't even mention the sponsors that we have.
Oh my gosh.
What are we doing?
Well, let's mention the sponsors.
We have some incredible sponsors this year. We have MeTV, we have Netflix, we have plush beds. We have just an incredible amount of sponsors.
Well, and we want to thank them for participating. Fabulous. But again, in order to participate, where they want to go to, the website again?
Pokerwithed.com.
There we go. Okay, now having said all that, go to that. I'm going to be there. Everybody's going to be there. It's a good time. September 9th. But what else have you got going on for the rest of the year? Because we only have a couple of minutes left.
Well, we'll be making an announcement in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
And we have a big event that we're going to be doing in December.
Okay.
That involves music.
Okay.
So I'll be coming back out here sometime in the near future to make a big announcement about that.
All right. I'm excited about
that. End
of
year, wonderful, big celebration that people not only in this city will be able to enjoy.
Okay, well that's really intriguing
and
mysterious and
exciting.
exciting.
What do you mean by that?
And you have great connections from your former life to the music community. So when you do a music event, you do it right.
Yes.
So that will be really cool.
It's going to be really cool.
Okay, so we'll look forward to that information.
That it will be exciting and raise eyebrows and create lots of wonderful feelings.
Well, now you have me so intrigued. I'm sure that was your intent. It's like watching a magic trick, and I'm like, I want to know how it works.
There we go.
Okay, so we'll look forward to hearing from Matt about what that is. What else is going on from now to the end of the year?
Well, let's see. That's going to take me through the end of the year, I think, pretty much.
You know what I want to know? When are the submissions for the Aut Fest for next year?
Well, we're still trying to figure out where we're doing it.
Okay.
We're working on some possible situations that would take us in Los Angeles. I'm not sure what we're doing yet.
Okay.
But there will be another Aut Fest. It'll be in April. We'll probably have the date within the next couple of weeks, I think.
And then submissions, you'll let us know.
Submissions will probably start in January.
Okay.
And continue through March. And we'll be able to probably, I think, be bigger and better this year.
Okay. All right.
There's a lot going on in autism.
Well, exactly, and I know some people who have things that they want to
Oh,
submit.
good. Okay,
so
good.
That's why I want to know.
So yeah, we'll be probably accepting submissions, I would think, in the first of the year.
Okay.
First of the new year.
All right.
Yeah.
Really spectacular, and things all good family-wise.
Yeah, Nava's working really hard with my dad on this incredible project that they will be announcing really soon.
Okay.
Which will be. Kind of an answer to, I think, a lot of parents' prayers.
Okay. I like hearing
throughout the U.S. And it involves the arts and
you're just a man of mystery
health.
Today, is what
well,
you are.
I can tell you,
it all sounds so good.
It's going to be a center where people can go and have enrichment and also have mental health. So
what a wonderful legacy for your dad.
It's going to be great.
It's been amazing.
Nava will be here at some point in the near future to really kind of talk about the particulars in that.
Wonderful. We always love it when Nava will come on the show. Somebody just recently had talked to me about the fact that they watched when Nava and I did a little thing on immune disorder and fibromyalgia, and so Nava and I are going to talk afterwards about maybe doing something else, because a lot of our moms out there have immune issues, myself included.
Well, and I think Nava's a force. She's an incredible person to watch and to live with. She's just an amazing person, and she, you know, she really feels that you know, through that there needs to be a place where people can go and receive attention.
Absolutely.
With their children,
Absolutely.
with their young adults.
Yeah.
And while they're receiving attention, that a parent can receive attention.
And you know I love that mission.
And I think, you know, I think she's onto something that's really going to change the world.
Absolutely.
So,
and on that note, we're totally out of time, but we want to thank you for being here. We always love it when you're here. Don't forget the Ed Asner Poker Tournament, September 9th. Go there, pokerwithed.com. We're going to be back here next Wednesday with fabulous shows for you. I don't even have time to tell you about it, but they're all good. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.